You're not alone. If you need someone to talk to today, please contact Crisis Services Canada by either calling them at 1-833-456-4566 all hours of the day, or you can text them at 45645 at 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Remember, you're not alone, and Crisis Services Canada is here to help. Welcome to another edition of Coffee with Graeme on Amateur Sports TV. I'm your host, Graeme Forsyth. Thanks for tuning in. It's our Week 10 edition of MFHL Season Coverage here on the network. In today's episode, I'll be speaking to two forwards from around the MFHL, starting with number 17, second-year forward and assistant captain of this year's Winnipeg Ice squad, Juliana Duma. And I had a chance to speak to Juliana about her career with Winnipeg up until this point. I had a chance to speak to her about her Bantam AA career, where she spent 2 seasons from 2016 to 2018 with the Fort Garry Twins, where in those 2 seasons, she won a provincial championship in 2017-18. She won back-to-back Fort Garry Twins MVP awards, and she was selected to 2 All-Star games in that span, and she also won the All-Star game MVP in her final All-Star game in Bantam AA. And other than playing for Fort Garry and now the Winnipeg Ice, Juliana has played for both St. Mary's Academy Prep in the CSSHL and St. Mary's Academy in the Winnipeg Women's High School Hockey League. And adding to her long list of achievements up until this point in her career, last Thursday she signed her commitment to York University for the season of 2021. And it's going to be a great episode today. She's my first guest joining me. We got another guest joining me later on in today's episode, but be sure to sit back, chillax, maybe grab a cup of joe or whatever you guys bring to drink to enjoy these shows here on the network. And I'll be sitting down with Juliana Duma, number 17 of the Winnipeg Ice, in just a moment here on Coffee with Graeme's MFHL season coverage for Week 10, sponsored by Piranata and Fabricland Winkler. Joining me now on MFHL season coverage is a forward and assistant captain, second-year player for the Winnipeg Ice, Juliana Duma. And Juliana, of course, going into her second year this season with the Winnipeg Ice. And last year they went on a finals run, but they didn't get to finish what they started, possibly upsetting the best team in the league last year against the Winnipeg Avros due to COVID-19 canceling the rest of the season. But Juliana joins me today on this Wednesday evening. The show's going out on Thursday at 10:30 a.m. and it's nice to have Juliana here. We're going to talk about her commitment first off to the York University, and you committed to York last Thursday on the 10th. And I mean, you committed there for the fall of 2021, so starting next season, you'll be a York University female hockey player. I mean, how does that sound? I mean, are you excited just hearing about it?
Oh, yeah, I'm stoked. Super excited to, start hockey at a university and be moving away and be on my own for once. So it's gonna be nice.
So you'd say you're excited to be moving away and kind of have some independence? Yeah,
for sure. I mean, always kind of dreamed of having that opportunity to go away and play for a university team, and just so happens to be York University, and I'm super happy to be that.
And why exactly did you choose York to continue your playing career?
I mean, I've been in contact with the coach for almost 2 years now, and he's a super nice guy, and every single time we either had a call or a Zoom chat, everything he had to say about the university was just amazing, and that made that commitment so much easier.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be playing under a coach in Dan Church, who's been with the program since 2004. And I mean, you've had conversations with him, like you've said. I mean, how have those conversations been?
I mean, he's had so much experience. He coached the women's Canadian team. And I mean, everything I've heard about him. And I've had a couple of my teammates that are on the team right now only say good things about him, so I'm happy.
So, I mean, you're going to be moving away. You're going to be, I mean, like you said, you're going to have some independency, but I mean, you're going to know some names there, and especially, I mean, in 2022, Courtney Bates will be joining the program. I mean, how excited are you to get to play with some familiar faces that are from Winnipeg and just around Manitoba?
Yeah, I mean, one of my teammates, Sarah Mclennan, is also joining me going there. So I'm happy about that, and Courtney as well. She's a great player, super hard worker. So for her to come in the next 2 years is, you know, it's awesome. She's only going to grow from there, and to know that she's going to be so strong coming in from there. So I'm happy about that as well.
Yeah, so you get to, I mean, play alongside a player like Courtney Bates, who, I mean, is having a heck of a second year as a Winnipeg Arrow. I mean, you're playing alongside with your teammate and captain of the team this year, Sarah Mclennan. So it's going to be fun for you for sure, I'm assuming. And I mean, what are you going to be studying at York? Have you decided that yet? I'm pretty sure you've decided.
Yeah, I believe I'm going to be going into psychology next year.
Nice. And what interests you about that field?
I took a course this year, and in my grade 11 year, we kind of had like an intro to a psych class, and it really interested me, and I thought like I'd give it a go. So I decided to, you know, take it in university, and if I don't like it, you know, it's not the end of the world. Switch it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. You can always, I mean, switch lanes, switch paths. I mean, that's the great thing about, I mean, school for sure. It's never, nothing's ever, I mean, fully decided. But I mean, you're going to York. I mean, a school with a lot of history. I mean, Dan Church has a lot of experience. You're going to be playing alongside some familiar faces and some new faces as well, players that you've never even met before. But for you personally, I mean, I'm sure you've had kind of a chance to think about it, but what are you hoping to achieve during your time at York?
I mean, I have this summer, I have this entire year to prepare myself, because obviously the year is definitely going to be a little harder than what I'm experiencing right now. So all preparation for that year, but I want to accomplish, you know, coming in, and I want to be a strong forward, and I obviously want to contribute to the team. So I'd say just hard work right now and prepare myself for what the years are to come.
And I had a chance to look at your, I mean, your profile on the Winnipeg Ice website. And one of the players, I mean, the player you do look up to is Connor McDavid. And I mean, that's a pretty amazing player to look up to. But I've heard that you're a great playmaker. You got the hands. I mean, would you say those are kind of some things that you kind of model your game after? I mean, just looking up to a player like Connor McDavid?
Oh, of course. I mean, like everything. He's nailed almost every attribute that a hockey player needs, and I mean, you can only aspire to be as good as him. And obviously, watching him is just, it's amazing. So I mean, everyone should probably take some hints from him. But,
yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, that guy's speed, just his ability to carry that puck at those high speeds, make the highlight reels like he has. I mean, it's something that I've never seen before. I'm sure it's something that, I mean, a lot of people have never seen before. I mean, one of a generational player for sure, a generational talent in Connor McDavid. But I mean, moving into your Bantam career now, where you played for the Fort Garry Twins AA team, I mean, you had some hardware there. I mean, racking up 2 MVP awards, winning those back-to-back. I mean, winning a provincial championship in your second year. And you had a chance to play under your coach now, who is Eugene Kaminsky. So, I mean, just back then, what was it like playing under Eugene for the very first time?
Eugene was a really good coach right off our first year of Twins. He taught us like a lot. Our practices were high tempo. It was really from that peewee to bantam, and it really like shifted right from there. And I started to take like hockey more seriously, and he was a good coach for that. He told us like what to do mentally, off ice, on ice, and I think I grew as a player from that first year of AA, and grown from where I am from AAA, and having the opportunity to have him as a coach as well.
And how would you say you grew in that first year?
I would say I definitely got better with my speed. Pee-wee, I mean, yeah, there's some good girls in it. I mean, most girls were taking it seriously, but I believe like Bantam first year was like right as when everyone wanted to score and everyone was trying their hardest. But yeah, definitely speed.
Nice, nice. And I mean, obviously that translated, you win back-to-back MVP awards, but take me back to that first year you won MVP of the team, the Twins AA Bantam Award. I mean, how did that feel?
I mean, amazing, but like it all comes from the team. I believe I'm like a really good playmaker, but without that, like you got to have your teammates with you, and I think they all helped me to get that achievement.
And then, I mean, you guys go and win provincials in your second year. I mean, what a feeling that must have been. But just describe the journey you and your teammates went through that year. I mean, you guys were a pretty stacked team to be able to win that tournament and to be able to win provincials. But just take me through the journey of winning provincials in that second year.
Yeah, I believe our last round against Saints to go to provincials, first game we were all talking in the dressing room. I remember this because we actually have never beat the Saints before that entire season. So when we swept them all in playoffs, it was everyone was so happy and excited to finally get to go to provincials we've all been talking about, and to play the Central Plains in provincials was an awesome feeling. I mean, like you never really experienced that. Like you win playoffs and you get to go to the big barn in Central Plain area. So it was awesome.
That's sweet. And I mean, just talking about your role on that team and the 2 seasons you played on the Bantam Fort Garry Twins, I mean, obviously your playmaking ability was the strong point in your game, but did you become more of an all-around player in your second year?
I believe so. From my first year of AA to first year Bantam to my second year, I definitely grew more. I think accomplishing that makes you humble yourself, and like that's where every game means so much more. So coming into that second year and having that title, like it's just like you can't let down now. You got to keep working at it.
Yeah. And you were also a leader on the team. I mean, an assistant captain 2 years in a row, and you're an assistant captain on the ice this season. But just speak about your time as a leader back then compared to, how you've grown as a leader now.
I believe I've demonstrated myself as a leader on the ice, I think, for most of my hockey career. I work hard every shift, and I believe that towards that, like you gotta be vocal in the dressing room. You gotta pump up your teammates, and like that's the exciting part of the game. Like right before the game, you gotta roughen up your teammates, and I demonstrate that quite well.
Yeah, just fire up the girls in the dressing room. Of course, that's awesome. Always a great thing when you're able to do that. And I mean, was that something that you kind of learned about yourself along the way in those 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, it's all the excitement towards the game. You get like all your adrenaline, and you're nervous for the teams that are hard to beat. And I mean, every team you got the excitement for, but it's just so much more when you're pumping up your teammates and you're listening to music before a game, and it feels so good.
Yeah, and I mean, what a feeling. I mean, you guys win the provincial championship in that second year, but I mean, just going back to you personally, I mean, you make the All-Star game 2 years in a row, and I believe you won the tournament MVP in your second season with the team. Is that correct?
Yes, in the All-Star game, yeah.
Yeah. So what was that like? I mean, just competing against the best of the best in the league at that time, and just in those 2 years in general.
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of friends out there, and we all knew each other from like the AA league. So to be awarded that was pretty awesome. And I mean, I just went out there and worked so hard.
And I mean, how did it feel? I mean, obviously felt pretty good winning that tournament MVP in that second year.
Yeah, it was nice. I was ready for it, and like my next year for AAA or whatever I was going, it really just boosted like your confidence, I think.
Yeah, you're ready, prepared. I mean, mentally focused, locked in, and then it resulted in you winning that MVP award. And I mean, that's awesome for sure. But yeah, we're gonna move into our first commercial break of the show here. I'm gonna be back with Juliana in just a moment. You're gonna hear from our official sponsor, one of our official sponsors of the show, MFHL Season Coverage in Pure Nata. I'll be right back with Juliana, and we'll continue talking about some hockey with her. We'll move into her Winnipeg Ice career in just a moment here after the break. But before we actually do that, we're going to talk about her time with St. Mary's Academy, the prep team, and the high school team as well. So stick with me, and Juliana will be back here in just a moment on Coffee with Graham's Week 10 edition of Season Coverage. Back here on MFHL Season Coverage for 2020-2021 here with Winnipeg Ice forward, second-year player, assistant captain. Her name's Juliana Duma, as you guys already know if you guys have been watching. But we went to break, and we heard from our sponsor, Pure Nata, natural beauty made in Canada. Be sure to check out Pure Nata on their website. Of course, I forgot to link the website once again here. I don't have a banner set up for that. But, I mean, Christmas coming up. I mean, last minute holiday shopping. Be sure to check out some great beauty products that Pure Nata has. They got some great stuff there for, I mean, all your beauty product needs. And Juliana, I was talking to her before the break about, I mean, in the first segment of this interview, about her commitment to York University. I mean, her time with the Bantam AA Fort Garry Twins. And now we're going to talk about your time in high school. Actually, I said we are going to move into talking about your Winnipeg Ice career, but we're going to do that in just a bit. And I mean, you played for St. Mary's Academy, I mean, the prep team and the high school team. But I mean, what's that been like? I mean, looking back at the years of playing for that prep team, I mean, playing against some of the best, I mean, school teams in, I mean, the country. How's that experience been for you?
I mean, it's completely different. Having those league tournaments, I guess, on the weekends, going to either Penticton, Calgary, or Edmonton. It's a lot different. I mean, it's more of like a tournament type feel, but you know, they all count as league games. It's different from what AAA is right now, but it was a great experience.
Yeah, and you'd say you kind of like that style where, I mean, you're on the go all the time and playing in those tournament style games.
Yeah, I mean, like, you play one day and then you're playing the next, and it was definitely like an excitement. You're going away for the weekend, you're in a different place and you're with your teammates. So, I mean, it was a good experience.
And, I mean, playing in a different style of hockey, a style of hockey that you've never played in before, I mean, traveling with teammates and stuff. I mean, you guys all in the same program. I'm sure that there was a lot of great bonding going on in those years.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I met a lot of different girls that year, and a lot of girls came to St. Mary's that year. And, you know, I knew of them from, like, past leagues and stuff, but it was really good to bond with them over those tournaments.
And, I mean, playing in a different style of league where, I mean, like you said, playing in tournament style, I mean, you develop so much as a playmaker and an all-around player, but did you see other parts of your game, I mean, maybe even further develop in those years with St. Mary's Academy Prep?
Yeah, I mean, Larry Bumstead was a great coach. Taught me a lot through our practices. We had quite high tempo practices, I'd say, that year, and I grew more skillful, I believe, during that year.
And, I mean, just taking a look at, I mean, your time there, just the results that your teams had in those years. I mean, would you say, I mean, you make it to the finals back in what year was it? 2019, was that the year?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. So what was that like? I mean, making the finals in a league like this?
Well, it was the year before they made it to the finals. When we had our playoff run in the year I was there, you know, it was a tough, you know, all the teams prepared so well for playoffs, and, you know, you have one bad game and then you're put down into a different division type thing. So, you know, it was a tough weekend. We didn't come out, I don't believe we didn't come out with a win in playoffs that year, but, you know, it it was a good experience, and everyone was working hard, and it was good to watch all the other teams participate in that.
Yeah, I bet. And I mean, you didn't just play for the prep team, you played for the high school team there. And I mean, you guys won the championship back in 2018. I mean, you were also the team's leader in scoring and points that season too. I mean, just could you speak about the makeup of that St. Mary's team and how you guys were able to go so far to, I mean, making it to the finals and winning the championship?
Yeah, that was my grade 9 year, I believe, first year on the high school team. Everyone on that team contributed to that win. It was amazing. I don't think we lost a game that season, and it was awesome. It was a great experience. And high school hockey it's a different league, but you got to give it your all. And there's the CJS, I believe it was CJS in the finals, and it was a tough competition with them.
Yeah, and I mean, wow, I mean, your grade 9 year, you lead the team in scoring and points. I mean, you got a championship out of that season too. That's great stuff. So, I mean, moving into your time with the Winnipeg Ice now, and I mean, you joined the team in your grade 11 year, which was last year, but where were you just playing high school prep hockey the year before, or were you on a club team?
Yeah, so the year before I was just playing on the prep team. I decided to leave and join Eugene with AAA Ice, and couldn't have been happier.
And what made the Winnipeg Ice so appealing? I mean, it was their second season back in the league since, I believe, 2012 when that team disbanded. I mean, they came back, I mean, under Eugene Kaminsky, who has had success everywhere he's went of building championship contenders. But I mean, what made it so appealing was it getting to play with players like, I mean, Brooke Oxenforth, I mean, Julia Bird, Maya Emin, Rylan Lopke, Sandrine Garofalo, and Sarah Mclennan again? Or was it just the type of program that Eugene built up?
Eugene has made such a great program. He's a great coach all around, along with Jess Kaminsky, his daughter. But it was exciting. I knew most of the girls too, and I've obviously played with them in the younger years, but to meet the new girls as well, and I think we bonded actually quite well. And that team that year was, well, unfortunately, the outcome of that year wasn't the best, but I believe we could have made it. We could have won that year, but
Yeah, and I mean, you guys lost all the games against the Avros, but I mean, you guys had a strong second half of that season. You guys finished off really well. I mean, especially in the new year when you guys came out flying after, I mean, back-to-back losses to the Avros and Westman in before the new year started. But I mean, just speak about the makeup of last year's team. I mean, Eugene's spoken about it, but from a player's perspective, I mean, just what made last year's Winnipeg Ice team so great?
I believe every player on our team, they brought something different to the team. So it was, those lines that had a good score, they got a good passer, and it all attributed to the game, and we had really good outcomes with that.
Yeah, and I mean, you were able to come in, produce at a high level, I mean, consistent level at the very start. And I mean, in your first game ever, it wasn't a league game, but it was in a tournament game, I believe, against Thunder Bay Queens. And I mean, you scored twice in that game, but just the memory of scoring your first goal as a Winnipeg Ice player, I mean, I'm sure that's a memory that, it's pretty vivid still. I mean, just a year ago being last year, I mean, your first game as a Winnipeg Ice player, I mean, what was that like? Do you remember the goal, and could you take us through it?
Yeah, I believe I do. I think it was a tournament or showcase or something in, it might have been, I think it was out of town, I can't remember. But yeah, I believe I got a pass from Reagan Udall and just looked at the net and shot it and somehow went top shelf. So I was pretty stoked about that. I mean, our teammates hyped me up, so you get a boost of confidence after that.
Yeah, for sure. The confidence, I mean, getting hyped up, and I mean, like you said, you just shot it, and when you shoot it, great things happen, and obviously it did for you. And I mean, you made an impact on the team last year, especially in that first round of the playoffs. I mean, you led the team in playoff points last year with 7. And I mean, just going back to just your games in general, I mean, you had 17 multi-point games last season. So, I mean, just you coming in, I mean, knowing Eugene Kaminsky's systems, I mean, playing with this group of girls, being able to put up multi-point games 17 times, I mean, would you attribute that to, I mean, just the resume you built up before and just the style of play you've kind of grown accustomed to that allowed you to be so successful last year as an individual?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like I've been a playmaker since a young age, but I was able to, like, build off of my playmakers and, be able to have those multi-point games. So I'm quite fortunate to have that.
And you had a chance to participate in numerous showcases last year. Just in general, how did those showcases go?
Yeah, I believe we had the St. Mary's showcase. We fell short, I believe, 2 games, but that was a really good showcase to be in, and we were up against some tough teams, so it was good.
And I mean, you had a chance to play in like for a prep team where you played in, I mean, games similar to showcases, I mean, where you're playing a lot of games in a weekend. But I mean, would you say that your experience playing in, prep league hockey before that, I mean, just really helped you, I mean, benefit the team in those games?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to learn how to, like, recover from a game. Your legs are dead tired after one, and you gotta boost them up for the next one. But yeah, I definitely, like, I've experienced that, so I mean, it was, I guess, a little bit easier on me. But you got to get used to it, and it is hard. Having a back-to-back game, you got to give it your all.
And going into playoffs, you guys finished second in the league last year. Of course, the Avers finished first, but I mean, you guys were on a mission to meet them in the finals, and you guys did set up that matchup. It didn't happen, which was sad because it would have been a heck of a finals. I mean, for everyone in attendance, everyone who would be watching. But I mean, you guys come out in the first round against, I believe it was Pembina Valley, correct?
It was that,
Yeah,
yes.
with Central Plains.
Central Plains, yes. Yeah.
Central Plains, yeah. So you come out against Central Plains, and I mean, you stepped up in that first round, being able to put up 6 assists in that first round. I mean, just the experience of playing at playoff hockey. I'm sure you were nervous going into your first game in those playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I think those nerves build you up, and, like, playoff hockey for me is just like a completely different league. Like, you have different intentions in the game, and you want to give it your all. And I believe that playoff hockey makes me a better player.
Yeah, and I mean, just for you guys to come out, and I mean, you guys lost one game in that series, but you guys were able to close it out. I mean, just talking about the fight that this team showed in the playoffs last year. Of course, you guys had a battle against the third place team in the Yellowhead Chiefs, where that series went to 5. But just talking about the whole journey that your team went through in the playoffs last season.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely had some ups and downs. I believe we lost a game against Central Plains, and that was a really, like, wake-up call for all of us. And I believe we took that and we flipped that around. We won that round, and we went into the Yellowhead series, and I believe we gave it our all. I believe it was a do-or-die game, and everyone was working hard that day.
Yeah, and I mean, do you attribute that to just the culture that Eugene's built up? I mean, he's all about having fun, but when the serious stuff gets going, your team takes it seriously. I mean, just talking about how he prepared you guys for that series against Yellowhead.
Yeah, he definitely prepared us. I mean, he's got the good speeches, and he's in our dressing room, and he's pumping us up as well, and in our practices, like, preparing us for that as well. But yeah, I think he definitely puts his all into every player, and he has made us for who we are right now.
Were there any iconic speeches that Eugene gave that, I mean, you'll never forget?
I mean, I think it was that day after we lost against Central Plains. He he took a strip off of all of us, and I think that woke all of us up, and just got us so pumped for the next game and hopefully for the next series, and we pulled it off. So I think that made an impact on not only me but my teammates as well.
Yeah, and I can't imagine Eugene being mad. It seems like a pretty relaxed guy, laid back guy. But I mean, yeah, when the going gets tough, I'm sure that he's a great coach that way, I'm sure. I mean, being able to motivate you guys like that, and like you said, tear a strip off you guys a bit and wake you guys up. But I mean, you go into this series against Yellowhead, you were hot coming in as a player. I mean, with 6 points, all assists in the series before, and you only scored 1 goal in that series, but it was more of a defensive series, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough when you're being a playmaker. You gotta set up a play, and sometimes you don't get the point. You're the third person on the assist or whatever, but that's okay. You contribute to the play somehow.
And I mean, just that series against Yellowhead, I mean, it could have gone either way, but I mean, what did you feel like was the difference in that series?
I believe that game, everyone knew that, like, if we didn't win this, we're going to be going home, and we were in our home rink, and it just made it so much more like real, and everyone went out there and played their best, and we came out with the win, and couldn't have been more happier.
And I mean, disappointment, heartbreak for you guys not to be able to finish off your season, and it sucks because you guys weren't able to go out on your own terms. But I mean, just the disappointment you and your teammates felt after finding out that you weren't able to continue the season.
Yeah, I mean, I believe I got the news when I was at school. I think there was like a tweet or something that went out throughout the league, and I remember being there with Julia Bird, and we were just like almost in tears. We were just like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, you worked that hard and you're not able to, finish that round, but it is what it is. And, you can only hope for the best.
And what would you say your takeaways were from last year? I mean, just after the season when you had some time to kind of reflect and look back.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you can't take it for granted. Like, you gotta give your everything, every game, every practice, and you can't have if you have an off game, you gotta get up and work harder than the next game.
Right on. I love that. That's a great message. But I mean, we're going to go into our second commercial break of the show now. We're going to hear from another lovely sponsor here on the show. Might be Case Financial, might be Toby Hockey. Who knows? Haven't decided yet, but you're going to hear from one of our lovely sponsors here in just a moment. I'll be back in just a moment as well with Juliana Duma, forward assistant captain, number 17 for the Winnipeg Ice. And we're going to finish off this interview by talking about the season that the Winnipeg Ice have had this year and how they've kind of been handling things during the break. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's coming up here on Coffee with Graeme's MFHL season coverage for 2020-2021, this Week 10 edition. Back here on the network with Juliana Duma, assistant captain forward for the Winnipeg Ice, joining me on this Wednesday evening. It's about, I don't know, like 5:42 on this Wednesday evening, December 16th, and the show, of course, going out tomorrow all over the Amateur Sports TV network. And I've just been talking to Juliana about her, in the first segment, about her time with the Bantam, Twins, her university commitment to the York University. In the second segment, we talked about her first season with the Winnipeg Ice, as well as her St. Mary's Academy career, playing prep in both the high school team. She played for the high school team as well in the league. And we're going to move into just her season now with the Winnipeg Ice. And it's kind of been a rough year for her personally. She told me before we started this segment about just the concussion that she suffered this season. And I mean, how's that been? I mean, recovering from something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that was my first concussion, so I've never experienced like anything like that. But you know, it was definitely eye-opening. You know, you got to keep your head up in the games, and anything can happen. But I'm lucky to be able to recover and you know, get a couple games in before COVID shut us down. But yeah.
Yeah, and how would you say that you handled it mentally? Because it was a new thing for you. I mean, never experiencing something like this injury of a concussion.
I mean, it was definitely tough coming to the games and watching your team play against your teams that you've been playing against the last year. But you know, you're there to support them. But yeah, it was definitely tough watching them not being able to, you know, help out.
Well, moving into some more positive stuff, I mean, you were named an assistant captain this year, as mentioned before. I mean, earlier on in this episode, you had some experience being an assistant in those 2 years playing on the Fort Garry Twins Bantam team, and you're named an assistant captain along with two others. I mean, my M and Martina Barkley, and then your captain is Sarah Mclennan. I mean, how's that been, just being able to be named a leader with a letter this year? I mean, just being able to lead with this group of girls as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. This year we have a great group of girls. Our new rookies, they're all great. They all work hard. But yeah, I'm really good. Really happy to be an example for them. And, you know, along with Martina and Maya and Sarah, great captain, and Maya and Martina are great assistants as well.
And how has it been bonding with this new group of girls? I mean, you've had a chance to play on a line with Martinique, just centering her in that first game with against the Westman Wildcats. But how's it been bonding with those girls?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been tough, you know, being like split up in different dressing rooms because of COVID and, you know, can't be close. But, you know, we're definitely making it work. We've done a couple team bonding things, and, you know, we've definitely gotten a feel for the rookies, and I think we're all pretty close. But yeah, I think all of them work really hard. So.
And I mean, you guys got one of the best forward groups in the league this year. You guys are solid defensively. I mean, you guys do give up a fair bit amount of shots in some games, but you guys got great goaltenders and Morgan Baker, who's arguably the best goalie in the league this season. She's definitely making a case for that. And a solid backup in Rylan Lupke, a player that you've played with before. I mean, just speak about the confidence that these goaltenders give you and your teammates out there.
Yeah, I mean, I believe both of our goalies are outstanding. Morgan's gotten some games where she's just, you know, blown everyone out of. Like, she's insane. She does the toe saves, and we're all cheering her on, and I think we hype her up, and I think that builds her confidence as well. But yeah, she's an outstanding goalie. Along with Rylan, she's, you know, she surprises us every game too. Like, she's got some awesome glove saves as well, so we're lucky to have both of them.
And I mean, just having arguably maybe the best tandem of goalies in the league. But I mean, they've been with this team since 2018-19. And I mean, you had a chance to watch them in their second years last year with the team. And just this year, I mean, Morgan seems like she's been on another level so far. And I mean, Rylan's been able to put up some, I mean, she's been able to be solid out there as well. For you to, you know, see the development of these two goaltenders now in this year, I mean, what have you noticed that's kind of changed in their games?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen them put in the work in practices and, you know, in our games as well. But they've definitely grown from last year. I think Morgan kind of was more shy, and now, like, she's super, you know, talkative in the dressing room. So I'm, like, happy about that. And I've definitely had a relationship with Rylan in the past years with Twins, and yeah, they're both great goalies.
And for your team this season, I mean, you guys are 3-1-0-2. You guys have lost, I mean, 2 games in shootouts this year. You guys lost in a close game against the Winnipeg Avros. I mean, you didn't play in that game against the Avros, and I believe you didn't play in those 2 losses as well.
Yes, I was watching I believe it was the Avro game, and then we lost Pembina Valley, I believe. And yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, as good as your team is, I mean, there's been some games where you guys haven't been able to get it done this year, but just for you watching from the stands, I mean, what have you noticed that, I mean, your team has kind of fallen short in those games?
Yeah, I mean, I believe in the Avro game, especially, we did play pretty good. Everyone was working pretty hard, but a game can go the other way. Is you got to come out hard. I believe our team sometimes lacks that, and the Avros do come out hard, and we got to set the bar high. And if we can't do that, then that's just what we have to expect for the outcome.
And just taking back to that first game against Westman, I mean, first game of the season, was that the game you got injured in? Yeah.
Yes, I believe so. It was our first regular season game against Westman.
Yeah.
In Shoal Lake.
Yeah. I believe it might have been in Hartney.
Hartney, sorry, yes.
Yeah, Hartney. But, I mean, besides the concussion, I mean, which is crappy news, obviously, but, I mean, you centered a line with Oxenforth and Maternick. I mean, just speak about the things that you guys did good in that game for the most part when you were in. I mean, just how you guys kind of, I mean, demonstrated your skills out there as a line.
Yeah, I believe both my wingers, Brooke's a hard worker. She gets in the corner, she's nitty-gritty, and, you just gotta wait for that pass or work with her. But, yeah, I think they're both hardworking players, and I'm lucky to be able to center them.
And you get your first goal, your first point of the year, and your first game back from injury in that 4-2 win against the Pembina Valley Hawks. And I mean, just what did that do for your confidence out there after coming back from an injury, being able to put that puck in the net?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, that game was super rough. Like, it was very rocky for me. It wasn't definitely not one of my best games, but I was lucky enough to put that puck in the net, and I think it was a lucky goal. But it's a boost of confidence, and you're happy to be back with the team, and they definitely made me feel welcomed back.
That's awesome. And I mean, any goal is a great goal. And if you're able to put it in the net when it's, kind of a lucky goal, I mean, it just kind of proves that, you got some puck luck out there for sure. But I mean, just speaking about the culture of this team this year, I mean, it's your second year playing with these girls, some girls that you haven't played with before prior to, I mean, starting last year, but you've played with, I mean, a bunch of these girls before on, I mean, in your previous teams, but just talk about how, close you guys are as a group.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that's so important, like, for a team to be close. Like, you gotta be close on the ice and off the ice. Like, you gotta trust your teammates, and I believe that comes from the dressing room, and it builds onto the ice. So having that relationship build strong off the ice and make it on the ice with them, passing and, communicating, talking with them. So, yeah, I think it's good.
So you guys haven't been able to play any games like every other team in the league due to the league being shut down for right now, hoping for it to return after January 8th as soon as possible after that date. But I mean, just what have you been able to focus on during this time to kind of reflect on the little amount of games that you've had, but what's your focus been individually?
Yeah, I mean, having been committed to York, I definitely have to be working out and, keeping that tempo up because, you can't come into the season. It could start anytime and you got to be ready for that. So I think just putting in the work off ice and doing whatever you can to, stay fit is really important.
And I mean, you guys have been doing Zoom meetings, Zoom workouts. How's that gone?
No, that's great. I believe it's Andrew from Chara Fitness, and he's been super great. We've done a lot of like strength, cardio, and everyone participates in it, and it's awesome actually over Zoom. You wouldn't think that, but yeah, it's been really good.
Yeah, and how's that been? Obviously, you don't get to see your teammates. I mean, just versus being away from the rink versus being with them at the rink. I mean, how's that gone? I mean, you still able to bond with these rookies, I'm sure, but I mean, how different has that experience been in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, it's been tough, like not being able to see them. I believe it's like the last practice we've only seen each other, but you know, how seeing their faces over the Zoom or in our group chat, I mean, it's definitely not the same from what we see in person, but, you know, you got to make it do.
Now, I mean, when the league does return, you guys are in good position to make a run for that top spot against the Winnipeg Avs. You guys had a close game against them in October. You guys didn't get the result you wanted, but I mean, this team has all the pieces, in my opinion, to be, you know, a championship contender and possibly be champions at the end of the season. But I mean, what do you expect from this group of girls, your team, when the season does return to play? Do you feel like you guys are going to be ready? And, you know, it's hard to tell because it's, you know, unpredictable if you guys are going to still be the same team. But, I mean, you guys have built up that chemistry from last year. You guys have a solid group of rookie girls. You guys got arguably the best tandem of goalies in the league. So, I mean, just looking forward into this season when return to play does happen, do you feel that this team has a legitimate chance of challenging the Avs for that #1 spot and, I mean, possibly winning the championship?
Oh, for sure. I mean, you know, we just got to continue of what we've done before the break, and we got to hope that, you know, we're all working hard and that we can make it there. But yeah, I definitely think that's possible.
Well, thanks for joining me tonight, Juliana. It's going to be awesome for everyone to see this interview. It was great talking with you. For some reason, when I got rid of the graphic, it kind of screwed up. But, I mean, it's one of those technical things. I've been joined by Juliana Duma, number 17, assistant captain, York University commit for 2021, and forward for the Winnipeg Ice. And hopefully when the season does return, you guys can get back to business and establish yourselves as maybe that team to challenge the Avs for that top spot. Coming up next, we'll be hearing from a Yellowhead Chiefs player, the captain of that team, third-year player, and a pretty great goal scorer in Joie Simon. Pretty sure I said that name right. We're going to find out in just a moment here, but we're going to go to break, and we're going to introduce Joie in just a moment here on Coffee with Graeme's MFHL season coverage for 2020-2021 Week 10 edition.
Making the world a better place is always a work in progress, because our idea of success is not an endpoint. It's a new milestone from which we can move forward. As industries rise and new technologies take shape, we're committed to keeping pace, to ensuring our innovations are shared and our journeys celebrated, even as we set our sights on where to go next. This is how we live, how we learn, how we grow. Red River College, what we're doing is working.
And welcome back to Coffee with Graeme's MFHL season coverage. And the moment of truth is here where I find out how to pronounce the captain of the Yellowhead Chiefs name, and I got it completely wrong. It's not Joie Simon, it's Joie Simon joining me on the show, Yellowhead Chiefs captain for this season. And Joey's having a pretty great season so far. She's got 5 goals, 1 assist. I mean, she's established herself as a top goal scorer in the league in these last 2 years here. And Joey joins me on this Wednesday evening. Interview, of course, goes out tomorrow, which is today, which you guys are seeing it right now all across the Amateur Sports TV network. And Joey, I'm assuming, is in her house right now. Joining me for this interview, Joey, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Yeah.
All right. So just starting off, way before you played with the Yellowhead Chiefs, you played for the Norman Wild in Bantam, and you played there for 2 seasons before you joined the Chiefs. Of course, you probably wanted to play for Norman, their midget team, but due to the lack of participation and the lack of bodies trying out for that team didn't end up, you know, continuing, but you ended up playing for the Yellowhead Chiefs for these last 2 years before this year. You're in your 3rd year now. Just what was that like? I mean, moving away from your hometown of Flin Flon to pursue this career at the next level of the AAA stages at the U18 level.
It was definitely hard, but if I knew I wanted to move to continue playing hockey because that's the sport I love and I just want to continue. And luckily, I played on a spring team with a few of the girls, so it was a little easier transferring to the Yellowhead Chiefs because I knew some of the girls.
So, I mean, you know, some of the girls coming in, you'd say that made it, you know, a lot easier than it maybe would have been if maybe you didn't build those connections before.
Yeah, if I didn't play on that team, it would have been way different. I would have not known anyone, and it would just have been way different.
And you're living with a billet family now, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so how's that been? I mean, just the adjustment of, I mean, of course, moving away from home, not being with your family. I mean, how has your billet family treated you?
Luckily, I've gotten like the best billet families the past 3 years. I have 3 different ones. They've all been great. Like, they're pretty much a second family. Like, they treat me like their own kid and everything. I don't feel out of place at all.
Nice. And definitely, I mean, when you move away from your hometown to pursue something like this, it makes it all that much easier when you got, of course, teammates that you kind of know coming in, of course, 3 great billet families. I mean, just starting off, going back to your Bantam career with the Norman Wild, I mean, you played there for 2 seasons, and you weren't always a forward at the start, but at the start of your 2016-17 season, you started off at D, but then your coach moved you to forward halfway through. I mean, how was that adjustment? Did you expect to get moved to forward in that season?
I did not expect to get moved to forward. It was really just a sudden thing. Like, one game, coach was like, yep, you're going forward. They threw me out there. I remember looking at my coach like, how do I take a draw? I have no clue how to do this. Where do I go? And they just started laughing at me. It was scary at the start, and they knew they had to keep switching me to D, so I felt more comfortable. But then after a while, I just knew I played forward forever.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Would you say that, I mean, making that switch from defenseman to forward, obviously your two-way game is at an elite level, being able to do that and transition pretty smoothly after. I mean, pretty scary going out there when you really, like you said, didn't know what you were doing at that time. But I mean, just do you think that you moving to forward has been more of a benefit than ever? I mean, would you say that maybe you wouldn't be the player now if you didn't make that switch?
Oh, I definitely wouldn't have been the player. When I was defense, I was more defensive. Like, I wasn't skating up and getting goals, or like I was never getting points or anything. But then when I went to forward, I started getting points, and then my game switched completely.
And let's talk about your game as a forward now. You've had, way more experience than you did back then. I mean, you've been playing forward for this Yellowhead Chiefs team. You're in your 3rd year now with the team, but could you speak about the style you play as a forward? Is it more of that two-way role?
Yeah, I think I play a lot. I back check hard, and I'll forecheck hard. It's definitely helpful with like the girls I play with. I know now because I've been playing with them for a couple of years, so I know their style of play. So then I could just adapt to it or whatever like that. Yeah, but I say I'm more two-way.
Yeah, and I had a chance to speak to your head coach, Derek Tibbetts, in the 3rd episode of Season Coverage, and he had nothing but praise for you. I mean, he said that you're a great leader. You've really come out of your shell this season. I mean, why would you say that this season's a bit different for you in that aspect off the ice?
I just think I'm more comfortable now. Like, I've grown up. My first year, I was so scared and like didn't talk to no one except like my best friend on the team. Second year, I got better because I knew more and more, and then this year I knew like pretty much everyone. So it was like just like a family pretty much. So I was just comfortable.
And Derek also told me that, I mean, you're a voice inside the room more this season. I mean, you work hard, you don't take a shift off. I mean, what do you think that points to as you as a player? Would you say that it's never always been like this where you battle so hard, or have you always had these aspects in your game where you are a hard worker?
Yeah, I'd say I've always been a hard worker, but this year I've wanted to push myself harder for like my team and my coach and like I just pushed myself harder to do both of those, like speak on the bench and off the bench.
Moving back in your time with the Norman Wild and that first season, I mean, just that adjustment to forward, and then you guys didn't do so well in provincials in the 2 years you were there, but just speak about the first time really competing in provincials back then, if you can remember it, because it's quite a while ago now.
It was such a change because I'm used to playing with the guys, and the guys are like competitive and all that. I mean, girls are way more competitive. Like, it was just, and my team wasn't very strong. Like, we were a slow skating team. Like, we battled. We were probably the roughest team, but like, we could not get points or nothing. So it was a big change, because normally my team could get points and all that, but my team couldn't get points. So it was a big change.
And I mean, you played with boys before you played with strictly girls. Just how do you remember, adjusting to that? Obviously boys hockey with girls playing with them it's a bit different than the female game.
Yeah, like all guys, the guys did most of the work, and then when I moved to girls, I noticed that like I had to put my work in, and like I had to start doing most of the work.
And in those 2 seasons with Norman, you ended up getting called up to their midget team. Was that in the first year that happened, or in the second year?
In the second year.
In the second year. So, I mean, how was that like? I mean, getting your first taste of midget hockey, I mean, the level of U18.
It was so fast. The first game, I remember people were just getting circles around me, and like I was just getting so frustrated, but that pushed me to become a faster skater and just more competitive, I think. And
you didn't have the results that, you'd ideally want in those 2 years as a team, but just can you talk about the year you had in 2017-18? Well, like back then when you were, getting more used to that forward role.
Yeah, that year was probably one of our Norman's best years. We won a couple games. We actually played as a team. I think it was the best year of hockey, if I think so.
And I mean, you were able to step up in provincials, and you were able to score 4 goals. You had 1 assist, and you've solidified yourself now as one of the top goal scorers in the MFHL. I mean, last year you were tied for second in goals in the league with 20. But I mean, just could you, speak about the time then when you kind of got used to putting that puck in the net a bit more?
Yeah, once I found out where I could shoot, I kept shooting there, and it kept getting more successful and more successful. So I kept shooting in those places, and now it's just like I know when I'm with that goalie where to shoot.
And I mean, to be the goal scorer you are now, I mean, would you say that you kind of had to work on the power, the accuracy in your shot back then, or were those things that kind of came natural in your game?
I definitely had to work on my shot, because coming from a defense, I wasn't a very strong shooter. So switching to forward, I had to work on my wrist shot and like my accuracy. So yeah, I definitely had to work on it. But now, if I thought about it, like I don't think before I shoot. I just shoot, and it goes where I wants it to go. Right
on. Kind of that automatic shooter. That's awesome here. So I mean, like you didn't get the results, of course, you wanted as a team, like not being able to be one of those top teams at that Bantam AAA level. But could you speak about the things that you took away from those 2 years playing with Norman?
With Norman, it just taught me, like, even if you're not the top team, you can still compete with the top team. Like, we played a top team, and we were rough, and we competed with them. Even though we didn't win, we won in our hearts because we competed with them. So I just learned how to keep my head up and like compete with all those good players and all that.
Right on. Well, Joey, we're going to continue talking about, your career in hockey, your seasons with Yellowhead after the break, but we're going to go to our first commercial break of this segment, and we're going to hear from one of our other official sponsors of Coffee with Graeme's MFHL Season Coverage, and this Coffee with Graeme in general, and Fabricland. You see the graphic up there, Fabricland Winkler. You're going to hear from them in just a few seconds here, but I'll be right back with Joie Simon in just a moment here on this edition of Coffee with Graeme's MFHL Season Coverage for Week 10 here on Coffee with Graeme. Graeme Forsyth back here with Joie Simon, captain for the Yellowhead Chiefs of this 2020-2021 season here on MFHL Season Coverage. And you just heard from our lovely sponsor here, Fabricland Winkler. Go check them out, search them up. I forgot to put in the website again of where you can find them, but I'm sure if you search up Fabricland Winkler on the internet, on Google, whatever search engine you use, you'll be able to find their wonderful products. It's a great brand for sure. So me and Joey, I was talking to Joey about her time playing at the Bantam level with Norman. And we kind of talked about, her time with Yellowhead a bit. But we're going to dive into that a bit more in just a moment here. But I mean, you had a chance back when you were about 15, I think, to play at the Northern Aboriginal Hockey Classic. And I mean, I had a chance to read this article on the Reminder, the story that they wrote about you. And I mean, it's pretty crazy because when you got the phone call, you weren't really expecting to make the team. And I mean, your reaction sounded pretty classic. Just take me back to that moment when you found out you made Team Manitoba and you got to, have a chance to represent your province at this event.
Yeah, when I got the call, I was so shocked. Like, my billets remembered me just screaming, and they were just like, they ran in, were wondering what was going on. It was just probably one of the happiest days.
And you had a chance for scouts to come and watch you and really, see what your game was all about. And the scouts loved your game. One of the reasons why they picked you on the roster, I mean, the Team Manitoba. I mean, what was that like, just performing, under the microscope of these scouts at such a young age?
It was kind of scary, but I got used to it. I just played the game I loved, and it was like no one was watching me. I was just with my team and everything.
And, you had a chance to play at this tournament and an event that, I'm sure that is special to you looking back at it. And, just being able to go on a finals run, of course, not being able to get it done against Team Saskatchewan, losing to them 5-1 in that gold medal game. But you had a chance to play with, I mean, players like Madeleine DeRosier. You had a chance to play with players like, Aaliyah Baker. I mean, just some great players from around this league, and you coming in as a younger player to the team that season. I mean, just take me back to that time and just the experience that you had personally.
Yeah, it was so cool playing with all the other players because I knew like I'd probably never play with them all again. And I started off forward, and then our players got injured as a defense, so they moved me back defense. And I remember just going back there like nothing was different and playing my game, and it was probably the best tournament I've ever played. It was so fun.
And I mean, what did you take away from that tournament, just from learning from all these talented players that you were surrounded with, and the coaching staff, just the learning experience from the whole thing?
Yeah, I just learned that there's so many more opportunities out there, like so many girls that you don't even know, and like all the different coaching styles. And it was just, yeah.
That's great. That's great. So we're going to move into your time now with Yellowhead. Your first year was back in 2018-19. And I mean, this was the year when, you moved away from home to pursue this. But I mean, do you remember how the tryouts went, how, it went for you personally, and just the experience of trying out with, all these players at this high level of AAA hockey?
Oh, yeah, I remember it. I went down there not knowing many people because all the people I knew were younger than me and weren't, like, trying out for the team. So I went, and all the girls were so friendly in the room and were just talking to me like they knew me forever, and they just made me feel at home. And then when we went on the ice, we all did our best. And then I found out I made it, and it's probably one of the happiest days and saddest days at the same time because I knew I was going to have to leave my parents. But I got to meet new people and everything, so it was awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can't imagine how tough it must have been at the time, just having to say goodbye, to your family. Did you have a remembering making the decision, obviously it was a tough choice, but were there moments where you kind of, maybe second guess yourself and thought maybe this wasn't the right move?
Oh yeah, many times. Still do second guess myself. Like, do I still want to move away? Because when I come home, I just miss all my friends and family. But then once I get on the ice, I know I made the right decision.
And how has this experience kind of made you grow as an individual?
Oh, it's made me mature for sure, because like my mom and my parents would take care of me, and then I'm out here and I have to worry about like how I'm gonna feed myself on trips and all that. So it just made me mature into an older person, I guess.
So in your first season, you were surrounded by a lot of experience and talent. I mean, Jenna Barcello was one of the players there. I mean, you guys had an experienced group. Just could you talk about just that whole year of being surrounded by that talent and really learning from these vets?
Well, I would just sit in the rooms and look at all them because they were all so good. And I'd be like I could be like you one day. And like on the ice, we would just keep talking to each other, and they would tell me what I could do better, and then I would try and do it. And they just helped me get to the player I am.
And, you had a solid season. You had 35 points, 21 goals, 14 assists, and 43 total games played. And I mean, you started to become a more productive goal scorer. Could you speak about the experience of that season and just the things that improve you as a goal scorer?
Well, I was lucky to be put on with some like with Riley Gluska and Jenna, and they knew what they were doing, so they helped me. Like if I was in the wrong spot, they would tell me where to be, and then towards the end of the year, I knew where I was supposed to be and what I should do, so it helped me get to those points where I could get a goal and all that.
And regular season, you put up 7 goals, 8 assists, 15 points in 26 games. And, not crazy point production, but solid for a rookie like yourself coming in as young as you were then. But did you play more of a defensive role on the line you played on?
Yeah, I feel like I was more scared back then, and I'd try and stay more back and let them do all of the work. But now I will go and do all the work if I have to, and try and get them, help my players out for the rookies this year. I'll go and help and get the puck and then set up.
Yeah, so you'd say in that first season, it really exposed you in the things that you kind of needed to do to take that next step into your foreseeable future at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on, right on. So, I mean, going into playoffs, you guys made it to the semifinals, lost in a battle of a series against the Winnipeg Avros. But, I mean, you put up solid production, especially in that first round in the playoffs where, I mean, in the whole playoffs, you put up 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points in 9 games. And you guys played the Capitals in that first series and, I mean, split the season series coming in to the playoffs. So this was a team that could give you guys issues. Just how do you remember, your coaching staff and just how the players around you and yourself prepared for that series?
We were prepared for the Cap series. The coaches were pumping us up. The older girls were pumping us up. And whenever someone would get a goal, everyone would be screaming. Come Avros, we were also ready. It just wasn't our game that we lost. We battled hard, but we just didn't get the outcome.
And, I mean, in that first round series, you put up 4 points in that round. I mean, the majority of your points in the playoffs that season. And you had a pretty big game 4 where you scored, a pretty big goal in that game, in that deciding game. I mean, for you to step up at that time as young as you were, a rookie coming into the season to the point where, you grew as a player near the end of the season, and it all kind of led up to that moment. I mean, how huge was that for your confidence and just your development as a player in that year?
Oh, the goal that I scored for us to win this series was huge. I remember the fans in the back were just screaming. It just made me feel so good, and everyone was just proud, and it just made me feel like that's what I want to feel like every time.
And we're going to go to our final commercial break of this segment with Joie Simon, number 6 for the Yellowhead Chiefs, captain of the team this season. We're going to continue talking about her Yellowhead Chiefs career in just a moment here. We're going to go to break here on this edition of Coffee with Graeme, MFHL season coverage for Week 10. I'll be right back with Joie Simon here on the network.
At Super 8 Winnipeg West, we have your comfort in mind with free Wi-Fi and free daily Superstart breakfast. We also have guest laundry facilities, a state-of-the-art fitness center, and a jetted hot tub. Sleep well in a spacious guest room equipped with plush new bedding, a 50-inch flat-screen HD TV, microwave, mini refrigerator, and Keurig coffee maker. Or book a suite with a kitchen, ideal for extended stays. Super 8 Winnipeg West, located just inside the perimeter on Portage Avenue.
Here on MFHL Season Coverage, this Week 10 edition on this December 17th, Thursday morning at 10:30 a.m. Of course, I'm interviewing Joie the night before this interview comes out, but I mean, you guys are seeing this right now. I mean, thank you to all the viewers that have tuned into this point and that have kept watching, but I mean, just been talking to Joie up to this point, if you guys have missed it, about her time with the Norman Wild at the Bantam level, her experience at the NAHC in 2019, where she represented Team Manitoba in that tournament, where they finished second place in that tournament, only losing to Saskatchewan in that final game of that tournament, not being able to get the gold. But I talked to Joie about her, her first year with the Yellowhead Chiefs and just how that whole experience was. And I mean, could you talk about the takeaways you took away from that first year, Joie?
I took away that, you're not, I came from Norman from being, one of the top players. So the first year of a midget really hit me, and, I was not the top player. So I had to work for it. So I knew that I had to start working more and, adapting more, I guess.
Moving into that second season, did you put more of an emphasis on off-ice training in the off-season?
Yeah, come second season, I knew I was going to have to work if I wanted to play. So in the summer, I would train hard, and during dry lands, I would train hard.
And it definitely translated onto the ice. You come in as a second-year player on this team. I mean, you're with a lot of familiar faces on the team as well in this season, and you're able to put up a year in all your games where you put up 31 goals, you put up 16 assists, 47 points, and 5-game winners. And I mean, you just continue to keep improving as a goal scorer, and you became more of a clutch player out there as well. So just looking back at that year, did you expect to be as clutch as you were?
No, I was not expecting to be like that. I was expecting to help my team out a lot, but then come the time when we needed the points, I knew I had to push myself harder and harder to try and help the team, and it just luckily worked out.
And one of the things that you showed in that second season last year was consistency. And I mean, you put up some huge games against teams like the Lightning and the Capitals, especially at the end of the season in that game against the Capitals, where you had a hat trick against them and you had a hat trick in a game earlier that year against the Lightning. And just for you to be able to become the goal scorer you were last season, would you say that, it was due to maybe the off-season training, the off-season work that you put in, and just all maybe the extra work and practice that you put in?
Yeah, it would definitely be the extra work I put in towards everything.
So, I mean, you guys finished third place in the regular season, and you guys were able to go on some long winning streaks. And I mean, your team is known for having a great defensive system, very hard to break through that system. But I mean, just speak about the ingredients of what made last year's team so great.
There was no gossip or drama. We were all one person pretty much. We would always try and help each other out no matter what the situation, even if it wasn't to do with hockey. And that just helped us on the ice. We knew where each other were going to be. We knew everyone's play. So it was just it helped us all in the end.
And there was a time where you guys kind of struggled, and that was right after the new year where you guys lost on January 5th, 3-2 to Interlake. And Interlake was the last place team in the league last year. Obviously, a big win for them. And, you guys kind of improved in your game against the Ice the next game, but lost that game 4-3 and then got shut out against Westman. But after that, you guys ended up going 6-0 to finish the season. Would you say that was the right time for you guys to kind of struggle in the season if there was going to be struggles?
Definitely was a better time than the ending of the season, I'd say. We struggled a lot and come after New Year, but then we started pushing ourselves more, and like you said, we started winning more games and getting more confident.
And what do you think your team did so well in those games for you guys to be able to go on that winning streak?
We just started working together again. We started being stronger and more confident and with each other and ourselves, and it just helped us and ended up in a positive way.
Now you move into playoffs and you guys went against Pembina Valley in that first round. You guys set up a matchup with the Winnipeg Ice, and this was a heck of a battle just looking at it on paper. I mean, you guys didn't get the outcome you wanted, obviously, losing that series in 5 games. But, I mean, just could you talk about the experience of playing in a series like that where it was back and forth and it could be anyone's game, and just the experience of playing in that series?
It was obviously stressful for both teams, but like you wanted to be the team to win, so you wanted to push yourselves, and it was so fun because you just wanted to like win with your team, and it was
And it was a game of inches at the end of that series. Would you say that maybe that was the difference in the series, was that the Ice just got one more lucky break than you guys did?
Yeah, definitely. They just got one lucky bounce and it went in, and then some of our players shut down, and they just kept getting those goals on us.
And I mean, pretty devastating loss because you had to say goodbye to some of your great friends. I mean, Chartrand, Jenna Barcello, Bartow among the few who graduated out of the program. I mean, what was that like, having to say goodbye to some teammates that, really made you feel welcome into the program?
Oh, we definitely had some tears. We all cried in the dressing room after, but we knew it wasn't going to be the last time we saw each other, so we knew that we would all see each other again one day.
And after you had some time to kind of let the semifinals loss sit with you, I mean, what did you kind of reflect on individually after the season and just in that series in general?
We just learned that if we can't let down after one bounce, we have to keep pushing, and like we just learned to keep battling no matter what.
This season, you come in and you guys have a lot of experience this season. One of the most experienced teams in the league this year. I mean, you're taking on more of a leadership role than you already did. You wore the A last year, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how's that transition been from wearing an A last year to getting even more responsibility of wearing a C this year?
It's not much of a change, but I'd say I want to do more talking this year and to try and help the rookies out. And like I'm the oldest, so they all look to me for answers or like what guiding or whatever. So it's a big difference, I guess, but not really.
And could you talk about your line mates this season? Have you been staying on the same line consistently, or have there been some changes?
So far, we've only had like 6 games, but we've had the same line. I've been with Hannah Ray, which she's an 06, so she's an underager, and with Emily Thompson, she's an 03, so she's a graduating player too. Emily and I have been best friends since the start, so me and her work very well together, and then Hannah goes to my school and we're very close, and like so she just fits right in there with us and she battles with us and it just works great.
And how's that been, really, taking a player like Hannah under your wing, really showing her the ropes out there, and the things that you've liked from her on your line this season?
Well, it's tricky, but like I love it because I get to see her grow up, and like become a more advanced player. She's shown us a lot. She will battle, and she'll get that puck for us if we need her to. She'll do whatever we need her to.
And, I mean, you've had a chance to play on 2 teams that have gone to the semifinals. I mean, you guys are arguably, the top team in the league this season. You guys haven't played as many games as the Winnipeg Avs, but you guys have split the 2 games this season. And, I mean, the last game you lost to them was a close one. But, I mean, what do you like about this team this year compared to other years? Like, speak about the makeup of this team this year and what makes this team so great.
This team, we're fast. Like, we have all our players are fast this year, so it helps us with like the fast teams like Avros and Ice. We've got a lot of people who are more experienced, but then we do have lots of rookies, I guess. But like the rookies just fit right in, like they've been playing forever, so like it just works.
And you guys haven't been able to, be together for as long as you've wanted to. The pause in the league this season, but how have you guys bonded as a group so far this year?
The timing that we had as a team, we all became sisters pretty much. Like, we all talk to each other. No one hates each other or like doesn't talk to a player, and we still stay in touch with, like, we'll snap each other, or like we do Zoom meetings every week and we'll talk about just how each other are doing. It's just we all just click.
And for you personally, this year you have 5 goals in the amount of time that you guys have played. I mean, you have 1 assist as well, but you've scored a goal in every single one of your games so far this year. And I mean, you're getting more consistent as a player, obviously, and I'm sure that points to the fact that you're that much more developed as a goal scorer. But how have you seen your goal scoring abilities take that next level this season?
I just feel more confident this season, I guess. Like, when I come to the point, and me and Emily have been playing together for a long time, so she'll set me up and I just know that I can get a goal, so I work hard and it just ends up the way I'd like it.
And even though you guys have only lost once this year, and that came to the top team in the league now in the Winnipeg Avs, I mean, it's not always going to be perfect. There's always, things that you can clean up out there. What are some of those things that, moving forward, when you do get back to playing, when the team gets back to playing with each other, that you guys are looking to clean up a bit out there?
Definitely our power plays we need to clean up, and just like our cycles. Like, our cycles are all right now, but if we just start cleaning them up, we'll probably be unstoppable. Like, I feel like our team can go all the way this year once we get back.
And I mean, the Winnipeg Avs, you've had a chance to play them. They're a fast team. They don't really take any shifts off. Well-coached team, extremely well-coached team under Ashley Van Egelen, and they got 2 rookie goaltenders that have kind of taken the league by storm this year. They got the experience on the back end, and of course, they got some firepower up front with, I mean, Trinity Grove, Courtney Bates, Nora Collins. I mean, the rookies have stepped up for them, and your team is more experienced than them. You guys know what it takes to battle these top teams in the league. How would you say that you guys match up with the Winnipeg Avs so well?
We match up because we're both fast, I feel. Like, and so there's every player we can match on their team with our team. So like even we can have our weakest line with their strongest line, and we'll just start going and just works out. I think we're definitely the top 2 teams, I'd say, but they're always good games when we play against them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you guys, the Avros, along with the Ice, Westman, I mean, so many great teams in this league. It's going to be fun when playoffs hit for sure. And I mean, just from the time where the league has been on pause to now where you guys still are on pause, I mean, you guys have had Zoom meetings, I'm sure. I mean, virtual team workouts. How have those things been?
They've been good. It's good to see everyone every once in a while. Like, I just hope come January we get to see each other in person again.
And what have you been focusing on for yourself personally during this time?
I've been working on my personal health, I'd say. while I've been working out and doing physical stuff, but I've basically been working on my mental health.
Right on. And yeah, mental health, extremely important thing, especially in a time like this when we are isolated from, friends and family. It's awesome that you're still able to see your billet family this year. That's awesome. I'm sure that that's benefited your mental health tremendously for sure. If you didn't have those things, but it's great for you to be staying positive mentally for sure. And, it's been great talking to you tonight, Joey. Hopefully, when the season does return, you guys can pick up where you guys left off and, continue the season that you guys were having up until the point where the season did get shut down for a little bit here. And hopefully you guys, can live up to the hype and challenge this Abers team for the top spot and, challenge them in playoffs and other top teams too, maybe like the Ice and like Westman. So I was joined by Joie Simon on this edition of Coffee with Graeme, the second interview here on this MFHL Season Coverage Week 10 edition. We're going to go to commercial break for one last time here in the show. We're going to hear from another lovely sponsor here on the show. Not sure who it's going to be yet. I'm still deciding who it's going to be, but I'll be right back to give my final words on today's episode and talk about what's up next coming up here on the network. So I'm Graeme Forsyth. I'll be back in just a moment, but I've been joined by Yellowhead Chiefs captain number 6, Joie Simon, on this edition of Coffee with Graeme, MFHL Season Coverage. Welcome back to Coffee with Graeme. Before I sign off on today's edition of the show, I just want to let you guys know about the great content coming up next week on Coffee with Graeme. So before I do that, I want to let you guys know about a new show coming up tomorrow on the network. It's the premiere of the Prospect Show at 8 p.m. I'm sitting down with 2019 WHL second overall draft pick Connor Geekie, and Connor got drafted to the Winnipeg Ice back in 2019. I'm going to speak to him about his journey to getting drafted into the WHL and what this season has been like for him with the Bird and Oil Capitals. Now, back to Coffee with Graeme. What's coming up next week on the network? On Tuesday, I'll be sitting down with a member from the Saskatchewan Female U18 AAA Hockey League at 10:30 a.m. And then on the Christmas Eve edition of Coffee with Graeme's MFHL Season Coverage, where I might be wearing a Santa hat, I might not, haven't made that decision yet. I don't know, I think it would be fun to get into the festivities of the holiday season and have a little fun with it. But other than that, I'll be sitting down with members from the MFHL in that episode. Not sure who's going to be joining me in that one, but it's going to be a good one. On December 24th, Christmas Eve on Amateur Sports TV. Be sure to catch not only my show, but all our other great shows here on the network on Facebook, YouTube, I think even Periscope now if I'm not mistaken, but they're all at Amateur Sports TV, and you can simply just visit our website at www.amateursports.tv as well if that's what you prefer. And if you want to stay up to date with not only this show, not only the Prospect Show, but all the other great shows on the network of when they're coming out, you can check us out on Facebook for that, but also on Twitter at Amateur Sports TV and at Instagram at amateursports.tv, where we post all the updates and all the previews of what we got in store for the newest episodes on Amateur Sports TV. So I've been your host of Coffee with Graeme and soon to be host of the Prospect Show, Graeme Forsyth, signing off. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and until next time, I'll see you later.